This is TWiT.
Hey, buddy, are you a geek? Are you a tech enthusiast? Then I would love to invite you to join a tech community like no other. You can gain exclusive access to our incomparable quality tech content for just $7 a month with Club TWiT. As a member, you'll enjoy all TWiT TV shows ad-free, plus access private video feeds for insider shows like iOS Today, Home Theater Geeks, and so much more. Dive into the members-only TWiT Plus bonus feed for behind-the-scenes content, club discussions, and special events. But here's the best perk. Join our incredible Discord community to watch live show productions, chat with hosts, and participate in exclusive members-only activities. It's your backstage pass to the world of TWiT. Whether you're a tech enthusiast or a lifelong learner, Club TWiT elevates your knowledge while entertaining your interests. Get 2 weeks free when you sign up now for $7 a month and unlock unparalleled access at twit.tv/clubtwit. That's twit.tv/clubtwit. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you and welcome to the club.
This is Mikah's Crafting Corner, which we are hosting at a different time this month, so we can have people whose time zones don't align with our other time join us. Thank you, Burke. As you will all recall, we are currently on stream working on Jason's Kitchen. This is a miniature of a kitchen. We've got some plants, a little table, lighting, a skylight even, lots of photographs on the wall, paintings and things like that, a sink. And we've been slowly working through this. I think I was calling them modules, kind of module by module, with the cabinet body, which we started with. And then, after the cabinet body, we worked on the cabinet top, which is here. Still very much love that little handle on the cabinet top. After that was what they call the closet, which has 2 openings and then a little curtain. And then we worked on the wall unit, which is this. After the wall unit came the table, which, if you look at it from the top, has these ugly spots here, but I'm fairly certain we're going to be covering those, so that's good. But that's the table. After the table, we made another smaller table and put a tablecloth on top of it. After the tablecloth, we made some chairs, which are actually stools, but they call them chairs. Because, is a stool a chair? If a chair is a thing you put your body on, well, I guess I would make a bed a chair, wouldn't it? It's the new, is it a sandwich? That means that now we are working on the shelf. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, the idea of Mikah's Crafting Corner is that we all gather together for a time. We hang out, we chat, we all can work on our own crafts. You can kind of tune in and watch the crafts that I am working on. You can share the crafts that you are working on if you are joining us in the Discord or on YouTube or elsewhere. And we just spend some time together having a conversation as we make things. And I want to keep it nice and sort of chill. So you'll notice that I'm not using my typical show voice. That's sort of part of the deal. Now, it looks like next we're working on this shelf, as I mentioned, and this one's going to be pretty easy to do. So usually what we do is one per episode. So we spend about an hour together. But I think that this one's not going to take us very long. So we will do that one and whatever happens to come next. So let me fold these instructions. I'll put them by my side here. And we will head into the box looking for our shelf. Now, those of you who've been watching along will recall that I, long ago when I first bought this, started by organizing everything into little bags so that it'd be easy for me whenever I came to build it. I'm so happy with that person who did that, me, because it has made this a lot easier to do. Ever since I started doing this, for Mikah's Crafting Corner, because I've had this thing for probably 5 or 6 years and had never done anything other than organize it into the bags. So Mikah's Crafting Corner finally inspired me to get into it. And while I was working on this one, I was having so much fun that I ended up buying another one that I could do on my own because I could speed up the pacing. And I didn't have things pre-organized for that one. And so that was a little more difficult than having it all pre-organized. Currently, before we get into it, Patrick Delahanty is very graciously printing something for me for my setup here to help better direct the lighting. And when I say printing, I mean 3D printing. So I'm going to show you the current status of that print. So if you're looking at the stream, you'll see a 3D printer. What 3D printer do you have, Patrick? And this is currently printing out some grid lines. These grid lines will eventually come together to make, as I mentioned, as Burke calls it, a wave guide. Let me bring in the photo of the wave guide when it's complete. So this is what it will look like when it's all done and it clips onto my Elgato key light. Patrick has the Creatality Ender 6. So he's already printed half of the grid. And this is the second half of the grid that he's working on now. They're each 13-hour prints. Patrick, for comparison's sake, how long does it take for a, not a miniature, but the larger miniatures that you sent us? How long does that take? So again, this larger contraption of grid lines was 13 hours. And then my second question is, do you have this enclosed somewhere? Is it in a garage where it can aerate, or is your 3D printer enclosed? And so, because I know like fumes are a big issue, right? I've been considering getting a 3D printer myself, but I haven't yet. Patrick is saying that sort of a small 3D print of a D&D miniature, not the like actual small size that you would use on a board, but larger than that, took about a few hours. So this is definitely a lot more. Okay, so PLA filament you can use without worrying about fumes. That's interesting. I had no idea. So is that what most people use versus, what is it, ABS or ABC? No, it's not ABC. Yeah, ABS. And why would one want to use ABS over PLA? If it has to be ventilated, which would, kind of make it difficult to work with potentially. PLA, very common, but it can break down in sun or weather. Okay, interesting. So ABS is a lot more resilient. I imagine then it's more UV safe versus PLA. ABS is what I'd use for something left outside, says Patrick. I've seen somebody making some 3D prints and then they put them into a plastic container of a certain type. And inside they poured strong nail polish remover, aka almost entirely acetone, inside of a bowl that they then put into the plastic container with their 3D prints. And then they close the container, thereby creating a vapor chamber. And the acetone vapor lightly melted the outside of the 3D print in such a way that it smoothed it out. I don't know, I thought that was kind of a cool thing, but I don't know what material they were using. I imagine it could have been something like PLA. Anyway, let's continue on with this. And for those of you who are going, what's a waveguide? Burke says, a waveguide directs the light so all the light leaves close to 90 degrees. Yeah, so for anyone who, I hate to point it out, but I'm going to for the sake of explanation, you'll see that as I move, there's this shadow behind me. And we're trying to get rid of that shadow that's there. And by directing the light, along with a few other adjustments, we're going to be able to reduce that and also to help to specifically light me and not so much my background, so that my background can be darker so that you can see things like the lights above. Because if you look very closely, there's blue light up there that's coming down. In fact, let me switch it because we're very festive today. So I'm going to switch it over to the creation that I had made. And that was, where's mine? So there we go. Now you'll see some red, green, and white going across the top there. Oh, good. That's so good. Patrick has handily shared in the chat a Prusa research material guide that talks about the different filaments and what they are good for, what they're not. Their tensile strength. PVA has the strongest tensile strength, but it is very pricey and it doesn't do a good job of deflecting heat. Okay, I'm going to get distracted by this, so I need to get back to what we're working on, which is our shelf. Okay, so the shelf is 5 pieces here. Whoops, I meant to do this. There we go. The shelf is 5 pieces. And we essentially need to put these tabs into here, on the bottom of this one right here, and on the bottom of this one right here. So we will do that. I've got my clear gel tacky glue, which I've started putting in some sort of box so that it can sit upside down like that. I have my super glue when needed. Sometimes that comes in handy, particularly for metal pieces. One little recommendation, a lot of people were talking about how these different kits were on sale around Black Friday. By the way, if any of you got any, love to hear about it. Love to see which ones you're making or considering making. if you use super glue on this material that has paint on it, that's painted, the super glue will cause that paint to it sort of dissolves the paint. And so it can make it look a little not very pretty. So what I do is afterward, I go in with a brush and some acrylic paint and sort of touch those areas up anytime I have to use super glue. So let's get craft gluing, because that's all that's required for this. So I like to always think about where the glue needs to be so that I'm not adding too much glue and not adding glue in places where it's going to run a lot. So in this case, for these tabs, I know that I don't need it on this outside edge. I just need it on each of the other edges. And then I also want it to go along the outer lip here so that whenever I push it back, it will glue to the shelf. So I'll stick that in. And you'll notice that I started with the tab at the top here. And the reason I did this is because this has the most steady spot to place this, right? If I was to start gluing these two, there's a lot more movement that can happen whenever I'm placing that glue. And that leads to the shelf not properly kind of aligning. So I always try to be mindful of that as well. So for this one, we won't put glue along the top because there's not going to be anything for that glue to stick to. We'll put it on the bottom, and we'll put it on the sides, and we'll put it on these sides. If anyone's just listening to this, I apologize that it's not entirely image descriptive, but I'm doing my best here. So we will put that on there, put some on the side, and then put some along the bottom, like so. And now we will glue that piece. Nice. When I'm working on a project like this, I like to leave the lid off of my tacky glue if I can, because it helps make the glue just a tiny bit more tacky. And as you know, when it comes to crafting, you want a little bit of tackiness so that things are held in place within a certain range, right? Because you want to be able to move it if you need to, if you've made a mistake. But a little bit of tackiness is nice. And I've found that putting the lid back on, the cap, I should say, it's not a lid, it's a cap. Putting the cap back on is, it makes it so that it untackifies it, or it keeps it less tacky. So just a little bit of dryness is nice. Yeah, great show title option there. Mashed potato. So now we've got that top piece with some glue on it. I think I'm going to go ahead and put glue on all three. You know, throw caution to the wind. Sometimes that's not a bad idea. Sometimes. So there we go. Yes, it does set very slowly. I got the clear tacky instead of the white tacky because even though white tacky glue says it dries clear, I've found that often it does not. It leaves a little cast, and I don't want that. And this clear glue does indeed dry clear. And if I'm feeling particularly picky, I will go in with a little craft knife and I will kind of cut out the dried bits that are, sticking up. but I try not to be too picky about it. So now that's done. Until it dries, of course. But we've got our little shelf. So I will set that aside. In this case, I'm going to set this upright to dry. So that way the two areas properly, the four legs are all touching and they're even. I don't want the shelf to be crooked. And then we can move on to our next item, which is the big window. So this big window is going to become, as you can see, a bay window. And essentially what this involves is taking some cardboard that has squares and rectangles cut out of it and putting in, gluing in acetate. So let's take a look at our big window bag, which we have here, and all of the cardboard pieces. It says to start, we should prune the connection points of the cardboard with the art knife. So basically it wants us to go through and kind of clean up these little bumps. So we'll start there. Let me do my little zoomed view here. Got my bag of craft items. This is a craft, I usually like X-Acto brand, but Cricut, which is the vinyl cutting machine company, makes these really nice craft blades that just have a good grip on them. And also it's green, so that helps too. But I also like the mechanism for replacing the blades. This part at the end locks and unlocks, and then you get a set of replacement blades, and you put in the one that's, dull. You can click it in, and then you just move your handle over to the next one. You click it in, and you can just pull it directly out and start fresh. So it's a great way to dispose of the blades afterward without worrying about them, cutting through your trash bag or wherever you're putting them, which I find delightful. So let me put this back over here. We will start with these. I'm actually I need to bring this down a little bit so I can see a little bit better. I apologize that it's not as within your view. Let me see here. All right. So I want to get rid of this one here. And we're just kind of lightly slicing the paper. In fact, I might turn it on its side so I can do this. There we go. That's much better. So I'm just kind of running my craft knife over the frame to clean up these spots. Remember, kids, keep your fingers away from the blade as you're doing this. And if you start to feel yourself applying a lot of pressure to try and get rid of the nubs, then stop and kind of reassess so that you are not putting too much pressure, because you don't want it to slip past the edge. And yes, Burke also has another good reminder, which is make sure that if you're working on some sort of craft mat, that the craft mat is free of glue. A little microfiber cloth with, don't use the ones that you use for tech, but it was sort of, if you'll bear with me, a high pile microfiber cloth with some isopropyl alcohol on there is a great little thing you can run across your mat to clean up any glue that remains. While I'm doing this, let's chat. Anybody have any traditions they do around the holiday seasons that they want to share? Any special traditions? They can be new traditions. They could be traditions you wish you took part in. They can be traditions that you used to take part in. But tell me about some end of the year holiday traditions that you have, while I continue to get rid of the nubs on this window frame. Yeah, it's a shame. The Cricut is almost entirely proprietary. I will say there's been a really good third-party market for almost everything that Cricut makes. They don't do any DRM stuff, so it's not like Keurig, which had the coffee pods that had the special ink. It's nothing like that. And so there are lots of third-party options. But yeah, the blades themselves, in this case, are proprietary. But I like that for this instance. This is the one time where I'm going, okay, I like this idea. I like how easy it is. And also, I will say one thing about Cricut. Their prices are quite reasonable when it comes to almost everything that they sell. And also Amazon sells most of the stuff that they offer, so you don't have to get it directly from Cricut. And if you need something quick, Target also sells Cricut stuff, as do the major crafting stores. So I found that I don't have issues getting what I need if I do need it. All right, let's see. Tree cutting every year with a family, but it's getting a little pricey. Oh. So you all go and like get a tree is what you mean, Ty? Yes. And what's involved with, because I haven't done that in years. Do you need to bring your own chainsaw? Do you get to cut the tree yourself? Do you have to tell them which one you want and they do the cutting? How does that work? And I assume you're going to a tree farm. And they do that thing where they shake the trees, right? So that you don't get any families of spiders in your house. The Great Christmas Tree Hunt was a tradition for our family too. Would go to a tree farm in Maine with a handsaw and cut our own. That's cool. You did this under the protection of deep midnight, right, Patrick? So they never knew you were there. The Great Christmas Tree Heist. Does anybody know off the top of their head how long ahead of time they have to start a tree growing? Like, is it they plant them so that every 3 years they can be harvested, or every 2 years, every 5 years? Anyone know what that time is? It doesn't have to be off the top of your head. You can use the help of the internet with your hands that are free. They have little saws, whole farm of different types of trees. We walk around and pick one out. Then I get to cut it down. They have cocoa, sleigh rides, and a play area for the boys. Always a good time. That does sound fun. Patrick says, we would haul the tree to the front of the tree farm because Mom always picked one at the back, and then they'd put a net around it, and we'd put it on the roof of the minivan. That's how I remember it being. I don't know why the net sticks with me so much. I think it was just really cool seeing this. They just like shove it through this net system and then suddenly it's got a net around it. My grandparents would always do a real tree, a live tree. It took 6 years from the time we started planting trees before the trees were large enough to start selling them. So, about 6 years. Oh, Patrick says they would just switch between lots, so that suggests every year. Can a tree grow that much in a year? I guess if you start with a tree that's already got some growth on it versus planting from like seed. Right. Oh, they would have a bunch of lots. Okay, so if you have 6 lots, then you've always got full-grown trees. Well, full-grown for the purpose of having a tree that you can decorate for the holidays. All right. I actually asked Sebastian if we could do a if we wanted to do a real tree next year. So we're definitely considering it. I didn't want to do it in California because trees are very, 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 well, I should say this, dead trees of the evergreen variety are incredibly they are incredible fire hazards. And so I always just got really anxious thinking about everybody throwing out their dead tree or dying tree at the end of the holiday season in California and just what that meant for the fire risk going up. Because they literally sell little blocks of wood from evergreen trees that are specifically used to start fires because they have that wonderfully fire-loving sap inside of them. And so, yeah, I just, I don't know. I didn't feel comfy putting out a fire hazard, I guess. But here in Oregon, where every time you sneeze, it rains, assuming that you sneeze multiple times a day, I don't have a problem with that at all. One year, Mom got Christmas tree preservative and added it to the tree water. It killed the tree within a week and needles were falling off when you touched it. Dad had to go out on December 23rd and get a replacement tree. The guy was still trying to sell it at full price, but Dad convinced him to throw in a bag of potatoes. That's from Patrick. That is hilarious. That is a bag of, why did he even have potatoes? It was a potato tree farm. That is so funny. Was this when was your dad already a judge at the time? Oh, it's Maine. So he had potatoes because of course he had potatoes. I understand. So here we go. I've cleaned up. You can see all of the dust there. I didn't even mean, Patrick, for the sake of, saying, do you know who I am? But for the sake of him having a law background, meaning he was very good at arguing and convincing. I assume he was a lawyer before he was a judge, or can you go directly into a judgeship from law school? Don't you have to be a lawyer first? Yeah. Okay. What kind of law did he practice? So here we go. What we're going to do is criminal law. Cool. We're going to start by folding these pieces so that it does make a bay window. He loved buying a car and having to negotiate. Yeah, I hate that. I would definitely, there's skills that I have and skills that I don't. And I think people like, oh, thank you, Burke. So people already, if I'm just walking around, they come up to me for directions or, advice for something that's happening, which tells me that even when I'm trying to look my most, I'm just here to get something done, don't bother me, I exude some sort of aura of, I'm here to help. And so I have a feeling that a car salesperson would be able to scent that on me and thereby take advantage of it. Oh, are you the same way, Ty? I could see that for you. Yeah, I could see that for you. That's funny. Ty is our head of marketing for people who are listening. And Ty was saying that the same thing happens to him. This is kind of difficult because I'm trying to bend the piece without bending the individual window portions. And I did get a little bend right here. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, you can see that little crease there that I did not want. I just wanted it along here. So, ooh, jack pine. The gray pine or scrub pine. I don't know. That one's kind of, Chocolate Milk Mini Sip writes, my stepfather was named Jack, so we had to have a jack pine tree every Christmas. Ugly little suckers they are. Befits him because he was a nasty, mean man. I am so sorry to hear that, Chocolate Milk Mini Sip. But I think that's what I was doing, Burke. I was using the ruler to bend it. So yeah, I had it like that, and then I was bending it. Versus outside. I thought I had it in, but maybe I didn't. Anywho, let me go back. Chocolate Milk Mini Sip. So yeah, that's a very tall tree, the jack pine is. But it is not pretty. There's a lot of space in between the branches. So it wouldn't even be fun to decorate, I would think. It's not very full. Yeah, that is helping, Burke. Good call. Still some creases showing up, but they aren't as deep. So now I can just kind of pinch it along here to bend it in. Yeah, it does look like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Well, there's Kira. Hi, Kira. It's been a while. Do any of you either still or at one point did you put popcorn on your tree? We never did. I thought it was gross, but I also feel like it's got to be just such a horrible waste of time. Because don't you have to use a needle to thread through each piece of popcorn? That just seems so involved. All right, now that we've properly creased the window, we will paste the little pieces, the acetate, onto the back of the window. And then once we've done that, we will take the other white cardboard frame and we will paint it, or we will paste it on the inside. So we've got it like this. We're going to turn it over, and then we're going to put the transparent slices on there, as they call them. Oh. Chocolate Milk Mini Sip, we strung popcorn and cranberries one year when we had Christmas at the log cabin in the middle of nowhere. My mom crocheted white little angels. That's cool. Oh, my grandmother also, this is Patrick, my grandmother also covered her tree in silver tinsel. Then she'd take it off and reuse it year after year. They were silvery threads of plastic and would melt when they were up against the giant bulbs on the tree. Holy cow. That is dangerous. Yeah, we never did the tinsel either because my family was like, it just makes a mess. One thing that my stepmom worked at a department store years and years ago. And when we would put up the tree, she would, we would want to, obviously. But she taught us because she would have to put up the tree at the department store. And the way they did it at the department store to make the tree look full of lights is that you go around each of the branches. So this is with a fake tree. It's much easier versus a real tree. Actually, I don't know. It might be okay with a real tree too, but I've never done it with a real tree because I've only had fake trees since I learned this as a kid. But you wrap the lights around the branches, and then you move to the next branch and you wrap back down, and then you wrap back out. And so it makes it so that the lights are all throughout the tree, inside to outside, as opposed to just taking the strand and wrapping it around the outside. It's an incredibly time-consuming process, but I do it every year because it makes the tree look really good. Yeah, and I remember learning that. It was much easier to do when you had multiple people kind of working on things at once, because you'd have the one sibling who would do the branch fluffing, pulling those fake branches apart and making them look more full. And then, actually, that was like the job of multiple siblings. And then the one person who was doing the tree light wrapping. And then they'd take a break while people put decor onto the tree. And so, yeah, I still do that to this day, and I think it looks fantastic. All right, there are a lot of pieces in here, and I'm trying to find the plastic parts because that's what we need. So interestingly, I thought that it was a large middle panel, but it turns out that instead it's two 80 by 52 millimeter plastic panels. And I'm just double checking because sometimes they'll put a plastic film on the outside of the acetate to protect it, but I may have already removed that. I may not have removed it, but who knows? I'm not getting any movement from the corners here. So we'll just pop that on. So we've got one that goes down here. And then we've got one that goes above. Whoops. Come on. There we go. Keeping an eye on the time because definitely have to end right at 10. Got some great guests today for Tech News Weekly, but one of them needs to leave right on time. And then, of course, later today, you've got your book club. So there's a lot happening. We got to make sure that we get to everything today. Now we'll do the 55 by 40 millimeter transparent slices, which everybody knows means 5.5 by 4 centimeter transparent slices. Yes, exactly, Burke. Burke says, when you make a mistake, that is when you are happy you are using tacky glue. Ty says, Nicole did tinsel for the first time this year. our RoboVac has a nice snack every morning. That's hilarious. Now I'm just imagining a little RoboVac being like, I'm in the Christmas spirit. Yum, 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 yum. Tinsel is its eggnog. Oh, dear. Does your family do Elf on a Shelf, Ty? I don't know if your boys are the age for that, / if that's something that you do. And yeah, he said, heck no. Is that for, some people have different reasons for why they don't do it. One of the more obvious reasons is because it's very involved and you've got to come up with ideas every day. But then there are some less obvious reasons that some people, ascribe to that I think are legitimate, but I'm curious. You don't have to share, of course, if you don't want to, but I was just curious why you don't. My sister is doing it with my nieces, and I was always very about it. But I have really enjoyed seeing their reactions to them, because she'll send them to us the day before what she's planning. And then, I've enjoyed watching and seeing that. And you're so right that the one thing that kind of confuses me about Elf on the Shelf is that oftentimes the elf is just doing the worst things. It's like you're just showing like the elf gets away with strewing toilet paper all around the house or whatever. So I don't think I quite understand the concept, to be honest with you, but I understand some folks' objection to it. I get it for whatever reason, Uh-oh, I'm only seeing 2 of these larger plastic pieces. That's not good. Oh, that's because there's not supposed to be one in the middle. We're good. I am not able to watch that video at the moment, Patrick. Do you care to explain? Patrick said, my parents used to have a secret method for cleaning up pine needles that fell off the tree. By the way, one of the reasons that people, if people are going, why would they not like it? Outside of just not wanting to have to come up with something every day, is that the whole idea is that the elf that is in your house is a spy from Santa. And every day he or she or they sit around and watch you and everything that you're doing. And then at night while you're asleep, the snitch heads back to the North Pole and reports what you've been up to. And so some parents feel like promoting the idea of like surveillance essentially then makes it so that when you are older, you're more comfortable with surveillance and the idea that like there's nothing wrong with always being watched. So that's some people's objection to it, which I don't have kids, so I don't really have, there's no point in me saying good or bad to either choice that the parent makes. I just will say that I have found it kind of delightful watching my nieces react to the different hijinks. Yeah. But I do wonder. See, Kim, my significant other and I are of different minds for sure about Santa. By the way, kids, Santa is, if your parents, listen to your parents about Santa. I don't know if there are kids watching. Let me say this. Ralph. My parents told me as a kid that Ralph was real, and I enjoyed, believing Ralph until it came time for me to realize that Ralph wasn't real. My significant other and I are at a disagreement in the sense that I don't know if I want to give my child the early awareness at 10, 11, 12 that their parents will lie to them. Like, I just feel like I want to be as honest as possible. And I don't know, but my significant other points out, it's a bit of magic and delight and fun and good, and it's a harmless thing. I don't know. I don't remember feeling a sense of betrayal, but I do remember when I found out on my own, it wasn't because I was told about Ralph, that I realized, oh, I can't trust what these people tell me, always, because sometimes what they tell me is not truth. And in that way, I worry about it. But is that not also a lesson that you can't always trust what people tell you? So maybe that's a lesson too. Yeah. So anyway, I respect that, Kim. Yeah. And as Kim points out, if parents aren't well off, the kids may think their behavior was the reason that they did not get the gift that they wanted. And so if Ralph is bringing gifts to all these other kids and one kid doesn't get many gifts, is it because they did something bad? Anyway, so I guess it could be, again, a lesson in lying, and that people who you care about will lie to you, which will happen in life. So it kind of is important to know that. But then I also want to make sure that there's trust between us. So later on, when they need to tell me something that is, happening to them, they know that I will be there and provide like honesty and safety. So yeah, I'm of mixed minds about it, I guess is what I'll say. My significant other very much wants them to believe in Santa. I mean, Ralph. All right, we put the transparent slices on there. Yeah, same Ty. It was like I started to pretend with them that I believed in Ralph. By the way, I'm saying Ralph because I just don't know who's watching. And so it was sort of like at that point, the script had flipped, and it was a fun game where I was like, how long can I continue to make them think that I believe Ralph is around, that Ralph is doing his Ralph thing? Yeah, and that's the other thing, Kim. I'm with you there too. I don't need someone to scare them into being good. But you said, I don't need someone else to scare them into being good, which makes me think you're saying, because I'll take care of that. But yeah, I would prefer to not have fear be involved at all in their choice to want to do good and be good. Okay, so we laid those transparent slices. Now we need to, there's a small piece that needs to have a spot put on it, because we're basically going to make a little window that sticks out, which is kind of cool. So it's like it's open and the air is venting. Oh yeah, see, and that's so true. Had a little sister, so I couldn't spoil her fun. For sure. I didn't want that to change for my siblings either. So we will take this smaller piece, and we will take the transparent slice, and we will paste it onto the smaller piece. As you might imagine, that is what we are gonna do right now. We've got 6 minutes left of this crafting corner. Now's the time where I think I will just ask everybody what is assuming that your significant others aren't also Club TWiT members and tuning in, or your friends or whomever at the moment, which if they're not, hey, they should join. But assuming that that's the case, what's the thing you're most excited about giving to someone this year? Because it could be your child too. It's not just SOs. What's the thing you're most excited about seeing someone open? If you can tell, again. If you can't tell, then maybe send me like a zipper mouth emoji so that I know that I'm not just asking a question that's getting no responses, because that'd make me a little sad. After we put that back piece on, now we're going to place the inner boxes across everything. Oh, very cool, Patrick. I'm like afraid to even say these out loud. Like, what if it somehow gets to somebody? That's very exciting. Yeah, you'll have to read the chat if you want to know what people are giving. Join Club TWiT to learn what gifts are being given. Okay, in that case, Patrick says Svet, he's giving Svet, his wife, the book that Glenn Fleischman wrote about the history of comics, which Glenn was recently, I saw Glenn for the first time in a long time recently, and he had come to Sonoma County specifically to learn about, oh golly, now I'm forgetting his name. No, that's Charlie Brown. What's the guy's name? Charles Schultz. Yeah, Charles Schultz. Oh, that's cool. Chester Frazier. Chester Frazier says, I got my boss a Flipper Zero. I should note Chester works in cybersecurity. So is that a happy gift or a terrifying gift? Ty says, I'm honestly not sure. Everybody is getting exactly what they want, so I expect big smiles. I got to go through and double check it all. Yeah, I actually, this year, as I was wrapping stuff, I took photos of everything after I had wrapped it and then put it in my notes with the text underneath that said what was in it so that I would know, because there's still some stuff that's yet to arrive. And so I just want to make sure that I have everything, because this year usually I have a lot figured out early on throughout the year, because my significant other will say, oh man, it'd be really nice to do. And this year, because of our move, there just really wasn't much of that. And so I had to kind of work at the last minute. So it's all just kind of coming in. All right. So we're placing this frame and I want to line it up with the edge here. And I did a boo-boo because I'm rushing. So I put glue along the tab here, even though that's not part of it. So that's frustrating, but it'll be fine. Patrick says, my brother and I decided not to exchange gifts this year since we always end up giving each other gift cards to Lowe's or Buffalo Wild Wings, but his birthday is December 23rd. So I sent him some nice Irish whiskey. Oh, you'll have to tell him I feel for him as a fellow December birthday-in. Today is my birthday and 6 days away from Christmas. I feel the pain for sure. No, I joke. I don't really feel the pain, but it's funny how much everybody else who doesn't have birthdays near Christmas feel about people who have birthdays near Christmas. I recently was getting it was spray paint, and I had to show my license. And I handed it over, And the person goes, "Oh, you poor guy." And I thought, "Oh, great. I didn't remember my photo looking that bad, or is there something wrong with my license? Did I get a fake one or something?" And then I said, "Why? What's wrong?" And they said, "So close to Christmas." And I was like, "Oh, that. Oh, don't scare me like that." Dear friends, it is 10 a.m. Pacific time here on Thursday, December 19th. And that means that it is time to close out for Mikah's Crafting Corner for the year. I will be back next year. What I'm thinking about doing is alternating between 9 a.m. on Thursdays and 6 p.m. on Wednesdays when I have Mikah's Crafting Corner every month. I'm also considering doing 2 per month. There's been enough interest and conversation each time as I've been doing this to suggest that that's something that can happen more regularly. So those are some things I'm mulling over, but for sure you can count on this time being one of the times that the show takes place. So stay posted in the Club TWiT Discord for more information about that as we head into the new year. I wish you all a very, very, very happy, prosperous, and good end of your year and start to the next one. And I look forward to chatting with you again in the new year and continuing on with Jason's Kitchen. Thank you all so much for your interest. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you for the birthday wishes. That's very kind. And I will see you later for Tech News Weekly if you're tuning in then. And I will also see you on Sunday for Hands on Tech and Sunday for This Week in Tech. I don't know if we've announced the full panel yet. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't, but I will be there. So I look forward to seeing you all again later today and on Sunday. Have a beautiful rest of your day and rest of until I see you next. Bye-bye, everybody.